You know what I just realized?
What?
I didn't have the intro. There's no intro. We're live right now. I think we're live anyway. There's nobody in here, so
It says we are.
it's just you and I here, so it doesn't really matter.
Start out live with no.
We show up 21 minutes late.
Where are all the people at?
I took the intro off, so it was kind of a weird start. Here, I got something for you. Here, I got a little bit to hype us up here.
You addicted to sex?
No, not that one. That's the wrong one.
Bar with the bar, the bang, the dang, diggy, set the boogie, sit up, jump, boogie.
Yeah, how about that? How about that? Coming in hot.
Damn, this is gonna be a good
Lord.
one.
This might be the most unprepared for any sort of live show that I've ever done, which is kind of crazy. I was looking at the numbers. I just shared something about it. I don't know, was it earlier this week or last week or at some point? We're over 116,000 followers on the platform last month, in the month of January. Over 43 million views on the Facebook page alone. So
Incredible.
That's a pretty big audience to just come in here completely cold, no preparation. But whatever, we'll see if we can sort of navigate our way through these things as we normally.
They're going to be
do.
distracted by the sweater, anyways, dude. So whatever we say tonight doesn't matter.
Very distracting. What is the deal? Is there a story behind that sweater? What's the deal?
No, it's just a Hollister sweater. I don't know.
I
was just out, you just get on your phone, you're like, oh, that looks cool, and then you buy it, and then
you purchased, so that wasn't a gift. You purchased that?
Oh, I purchased this, bro. Yeah, because it's obnoxious, and I live in Lansing, and I wore it today, and I got so many looks, and I just waved at everybody. Yeah.
Was that what you were going to tell me before we hopped on? You had
no. I did. Holy cow! No, I have an incredible story for you.
Let's hear it.
So I had a meeting downtown Lansing. Lansing's, I wouldn't consider it an unsafe city. Shit happens, but
sure.
So I go into this building. It's a government building. So I go through the security, whatever. And I'm standing there waiting for my wallet to come through, scanner. And this gentleman comes in and he says, "Hey, y'all got to go help that lady, man. She's starting to set herself on fire." And I'm like, "What?" He didn't say that word. I'm like, and then he's like, "Yo, that lady's trying to set herself on fire." I look at the security guard. I go, "Dude, it's what?" So we go around look outside. This lady has a lighter, and her son, who's probably about 11, is trying to fight the lighter away from her. She's trying to light herself on fire. So we're standing there like, "What is she? Is that really a lighter?" Everything's slow motion. Then her head catches on fire because she lit herself on fire, bro. And she's yelling, "I need justice!" And we're like, "What the?" So go running out. The security guard grabs her. Her hat falls off. That was on fire. It wasn't her head, but as her hat fell off, now her hair catches on fire. So homeboy throws her in a snowbank head first. People are just, bro, it's 11 o'clock downtown Lansing. So people are just walking around like, what the was that lady on fire? This dude, this lawyer with a briefcase walked up to her, looked, went around, what the hell? Yeah, she was on fire, dude.
This so this story took a complete. I had no idea that this was where it was going.
Yeah.
So did you put her out? Is that what happened? Were you a hero here? Are we going to read about you in the paper? See you on the news?
God, no. The security guard knocked the hat off her head and stomped on it, and then threw her in the snow. It's not funny, man. It's great. But then the sheriffs came on and up what's going on, fellas? I'm like, dude, what? You guys didn't see any of that? What the hell? So yeah, I had to go to my appointment. I came back out. She was gone. The cops were everywhere. It was, bro. It was.
Well, wild. That's quite the story. That's not where I thought this was going at all. When you said there was some sort of life-changing story, I thought it was going to be inspirational. Something.
I thought I was going to see some Buddhist self-immolation type shit, man. This lady was she was going. She was dude. Her hair was. She was about it for a minute there. And then I think she realized oh, fire's hot, and I don't like that on my head. And so she kind of tried, she tried to knock it off too. But yeah, that was the start of my day. I'm like, man, can't get much worse than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with Tyler Andrew here.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm just there. I'm just there for an appointment. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, people be setting themselves on fire.
Okay, and now look at see what you did. You brought out the you know we're
Yeah,
the
well,
comments
that's
here are
probably
starting
directly towards you, Chris. You might want to read that a couple times. Actually, don't read it because it's probably something stupid.
let's do this. Let's I guess we'll start where most people are I mean, dude, I feel like this is the thing about being online and attempting to do this professionally where you're so plugged in and you're keeping track of what's happening in the sports world. And obviously most of us, I would assume, were glued to the TV for as much as we possibly could, given that the game was a real snoozer. But the Super Bowl last night, I feel like it's the hot topic of conversation across the country here. And I think for Michigan fans, there's somewhat of a relevance here. You got to see 6 former Wolverines win their first Super Bowl last night, which, it's incredible for those guys. When you think about the journey and everything it took to get there, Mike McDonald in his second year as a head coach, watching him, did that video that came out of him like right after the game went final and he went to midfield and he did the handshake and then he's just standing there and he's looking at the fireworks. And you could tell like it was a surreal moment for him, an incredible moment for him. But AJ Barner, former Michigan tight end, Mike Morris, former Michigan edge, Olu Oluwatimi, standout Michigan center, Mike McDonald, obviously, who was the defensive coordinator for the Wolverines in 2021. Jay Harbaugh gets a Super Bowl. How about that? Another Harbaugh getting their Super Bowl trophy before Jim, and then linebackers coach, former linebackers coach at Michigan, Chris Partridge, also part of that staff there. So that was cool to watch. I mean, when you sat back and you were watching the Super Bowl, Jared, were you feeling yourself as a Michigan fan pulling for the Seattle Seahawks because there was quite a few Wolverines on the roster there?
Yeah, 100%, right? And so I think I texted you right before Barner scored his touchdown. I think I sent you a message and said, "Hey, like Barner's having a hell of a game, and he scores a touchdown. He's been solid all year. So, just a talented dude. I think he had like 54 catches. Obviously, I wanted McDonald to win, Mike, to win. Mike Morris is on the team too. He was always a cool dude. I know you guys did a lot of stuff with Mike and NIL.
It's so weird. I did a one-off NIL thing with Mike Morris. It was Mike Morris and Mike Sainristil, and we were at a shoe store. It was like a shoe and clothing store, and sort of did this shopping experience where they opened the store up and let these guys go in and pick out stuff. And it seems like that wasn't all that long ago, right? Like 2021, 2022, and now here these guys are multimillionaires in the NFL, Super Bowl winning. It's crazy how quickly things can change. But yeah, man, that was cool to see for a collection of Wolverines, and a lot of those guys are relatively new to their, either new to the team or new to that job that they have. And so it wasn't like a story where they had been in the league for years and years and years grinding. Like, this came pretty quick. But as far as the game itself, I mean, there were a lot of Michigan fans. They were looking at, the way Seattle performed. Mike McDonald obviously calling the defensive plays for the Seattle Seahawks. And there were a lot of folks that were pointing to that, saying, like, for anybody that was confused about why all of a sudden things changed for Michigan in 2021, well, hopefully you watched that Super Bowl and maybe you got a good look at the Seahawks throughout the season. I mean, defensively, now it wasn't like the Seahawks did anything like incredibly complicated or impressive. It was just man on man. It was we're gonna beat you. We're gonna out physical.
They're blitzing. They're breaking corners.
Blitzing, right? Send a corner blitz, but I mean nothing too exotic, right?
Everything they've done all year. Yeah, they've done all year.
Just clearly Seattle was the more dominant team, and I think that was further validation of that trajectory where Michigan had really started to trend up when Mike McDonald came and joined Harbaugh's staff, and you could see defensively that they were elite. It was a special run, and that bringing in Mike McDonald really, I think, spurred that whole thing on. And so, a lot of people wanted to go down the whole, like, see, you thought it was the signs, the Connor Stallions thing. I mean, I hate that continues to be a conversation. To me, it's more so when you look at the staff that Harbaugh had in place. I mean, where's Jesse Minter right now, right? Head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. You just saw Mike McDonald win a Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh, it's not hard to imagine him finding a lot of success with LA. It's just across the board when you go and you look at that championship run, man. This was a special team with special coaches and special roster.
Yeah, and again, it reminded me of that Michigan championship team, right? He came out, and especially in the NFL, and I know you're not as big as an NFL guy, but in the NFL now, like, guys going for fourth down on fourth down is just common. It's way different than it used to be, right? And he never even flinched on going for it on fourth down. He knew, if I kick field goals, I'm going to win this game because my defense is going to suffocate this offense. and that's what happened. I picked up on that early. He was just kicked 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, and just wore him down. You know what I mean? And at the end, like you said, it was kind of a snoozer-ish. But if you look at the nuances of what that defense did and how they bottled up the Patriots, and I mean, it just shut everybody down. It was, I think, going into the fourth quarter, they said some crazy stat like the Patriots hadn't been beyond the 43-yard line of Seattle at any point yet. 3 quarters into the game, like that's his domination. You know what I mean? And then they started getting frustrated. Drake May starts making mistakes, and yeah, you said it. You said it in the text, right? Masterclass. I think you said it on social media. That was a masterclass performance by a defense. Like
and Drake May clearly rattled all night. I mean, it didn't seem like he had a clean pocket all night. He got out a couple times, was able to make some things happen with his legs. But defensively, once again, led by Mike McDonald, that defense was impressive. I mean, when you see a game like, was it an enjoyable? Because this is one of the big topics of conversation here. People calling it a snoozer. I said that on the lead in. Was that an enjoyable Super Bowl for you to watch? Or were you like most people out there and just kind of bored with what you were watching?
I mean, as a football fan, I got it. You know what I mean? Defensively, it was great. But, as you want to see scoring and big plays and, that stuff. But as a football fan, I appreciated what they did. You know what I mean? I mean, Drake May's a young quarterback. I didn't think that he was going to come into a game this big and just light it up. You know what I mean? I really thought he would struggle anyways. But then that defense just, I mean, it was impressive. They came prepared and ready to go.
Yeah, it was, it was the game itself. I mean, things started to pick up, obviously, in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And then, AJ Barner, again, former Wolverine tight end, getting the first touchdown of the Super Bowl, which was pretty cool. And then that sort of opened some things up. It got a little bit interesting in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, that was a convincing, dominant win for the Seattle Seahawks. And then, of course, I guess we need to talk about it since everybody else is talking about it as well. Jared, I know you didn't see the Bad Bunny halftime show because you had tuned into the other halftime show that was going on. I don't really understand what the big deal was. I don't understand why it was such a, I get that none of it was in English. I understand that. So it was kind of hard to follow in those terms. But as far as the production value and what was happening, I don't know. I thought it was relatively interesting. I didn't see what the big deal was and why it was such a huge topic of conversation. Did I miss something? Am I missing something here?
Yeah, like the last 12 years of America, I guess. I don't know, dude. I don't see what the big problem was. It wasn't in English, and
I got
triggered. I don't care, dude. I've been to Puerto Rico twice in the last year. I love it. I go down there. They play Puerto Rican music. I have no fucking clue what they're saying, but the vibe is good. I love it. The atmosphere, just like everybody was saying, you know what I mean? The music just gets you. It's good. It's good music. I don't know what the hell they're saying half the time. Whatever.
To be honest, I had never even heard of the guy really, and I didn't realize it. He had been in. I think he was in Happy Gilmore, and I think he does some stuff with the WWE or something like that. So I was completely unaware of this guy until it became a big thing. So obviously I wanted to tune in and watch it and see what all the
brought some stars out.
Yeah, I wanted to see what the big deal was. And I don't know. It wasn't necessarily my type of music. I thought it was fine. I thought the production value was pretty good. And overall I thought it was an okay halftime performance. But I don't understand why so many people get up in arms and get so rattled and so offended. It just the dialogue that I'm seeing on Twitter and the back and forth about how people feel about this. Some people are calling it the greatest performance ever, and the messaging was this and that. And then on the other side, there's people who are completely discombobulated about the fact that this could happen. I just don't understand why people live in those extremes and have such a difficulty just sitting back and watching a goddamn halftime show. It's crazy to me.
Well, it's also basic civics class, right? Some people just clearly slept through that in ninth grade, that Puerto Rico, people from Puerto Rico are American citizens. So there's that, but whatever. That's neither here nor there, dude. Just pay attention to my sweater right now. Okay. Everybody focus on the sweater. That's
probably the most American thing we've got going on the podcast right now. That sweater is fully American. That is red, white, and blue all the way through. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just really don't think there's much to say about it. Scrolling through social media, the whole Bad Bunny halftime Super Bowl thing, is such a big topic of conversation. And I just don't understand the mindset that gets you to a place where, you're so rattled or offended by something like that you view it as like un-American or something that you struggle to like come to terms with, or you're raging out because none of it was in English. Like, who gives a shit? It's halftime of a football game. Does it really need to be like the topic of conversation on a national level? It's crazy to me.
You know, honestly, the most interesting thing that I took from it was right before the halftime. The sideline reporter came on and she was talking about how the halftime is like 2.5 to 3 times longer than a regular halftime, right? Because they got the whole production, they got to get the stage out, all that shit. And she talked about how the teams actually do like a dry run of the halftime because it's so long. So they actually have to plan things out, unlike us on the podcast. They plan shit out and how they're going to get through that extra time of being in the locker room, which I was like, that's, I never even thought about that, man. Those dudes are chilling in there for, 45 minutes. Like, you go from playing peak football to just nothing for like 45 minutes. You got to come back out. Like, I never even considered that, but so it makes sense that they would walk, you got to actually go through it. So that was kind of interesting to me. That was interesting. I never considered that.
Oh man, I don't know if it's like the topic of the conversation or what. We got some weird comments coming in here. I just try to remove it.
We got some good ones here.
We've got John Newcomb Thompson from the Facebook page saying shout out to all the Wolverines in the Super Bowl, particularly former inside linebacker Hugh Janus. I don't particularly remember him, but I'll take your word for it, John. It sounds, name alone sounds like he was a phenomenal player. But yeah, shout out to the former Wolverines who landed their first Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah, Hugh Janus. Yeah.
Scott from the YouTube page. Everyone calm down. I showed up. I posted how I thought the halftime show was so boring. And I was getting told I needed to learn Spanish and how wrong I am. Yeah, that's like, I don't know, man. It's such a weird thing. I just think we're at that may be where we're at generally, I think, as a country, is that everybody really needs to have a big opinion on something, find something to be upset about, find something to be pissed off about. I don't know. I don't really get it. But again, like, I'm on social media. I'm trying to find some Michigan news that we can talk about. And for God's sakes, the whole thing is about Bad Bunny and like who's an American and who's not and this and that. And I'm like, what are we doing? Everybody has lost them. Log off, go touch some grass, go spend some time with your family and relax. If you're that offended by a Super Bowl halftime show where you can't understand the words, then you're too invested in what's happening around you. I mean, just unplug and take some time away. That's the best advice I could give you. Scott Patton from the YouTube page says, Chris, what is your favorite commercial? Now, this is an interesting one because I'm down on the couch. I'm watching the Super Bowl with my son. It is a bit of a snooze fest, and I'm about to be 42 this month, and so I'm dozing in and out here. It's getting a little bit late. I didn't catch every commercial, but there was one that caught my eye, Jared. One that I found incredibly relatable. Any ideas you want to take a stab at which one it was?
Is it the damn Clydesdale with the eagle coming off?
Oh no! I don't even know that I saw that one. I heard about it. What is that one? What was that one? Because I heard a little bit about it.
It was Budweiser. So the horse had this like little bird that it rescued, and then at the end, it was like running with the bird on its back, but it would turn out to be a bald eagle. Super cheesy, bro. Like, yeah.
No, that wasn't it. For me, the one that really hit my soft spot was the clumps of pubic hair that had the eyes in the mouth, and I think they were singing, and the whole commercial ended up being about manscaping. I think it was. Was that what it was?
I don't think you were watching the Super Bowl, my friend. I think you were.
No, that was it. That was a real commercial. Somebody out there is going to back me up.
Nobody
right?
else believes you at all. I don't.
Come on, pubic hair commercial.
Everybody's like, dude, what are you talking about?
There were all these little different clumps of pubic hair, and they had eyes on it, and they were singing, and they were talking, and I don't know what it was, but it was. I thought it was
Nobody
a pretty.
Has corroborated you.
Not yet. Well, see now, Tony Petrosky. He says yes, that did in fact happen.
Okay.
That was my favorite commercial. It was the one I found. It was the one I found most relatable. It was the one I found most relatable, and so that was the one that resonated with me the most. So that would be.
It was real. Now everybody's getting it. Yeah, hold on.
We addicted to sex? Sex.
Damn it, wrong one.
Bow with the bow, the bang, the dang, dig, dig.
Did you tune in to see the other halftime show, by the way? Because I did it. I double dipped. I watched the other one as well. I was just
didn't
curious.
watch either one of them, my friend. It's halftime. I got up. I was getting food. I was taking care of my kids because I'm responsible. I don't have Chantel taking care of my kids.
That's offensive. It's offensive to me.
You were just doing math with your daughter, weren't you? Before this podcast, I'm surprised that your brain even works. What level of math are we talking about?
Oh man, we're doing like I forget what it's called. It's like a number line, and you're trying to do addition. She's in second grade, so we're doing addition and subtraction, and it's like, you got to jump over 10, and then you got to break it down into individual pieces or whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. Between that and my son's level of math class, it's a reminder of why I didn't do so well in.
I was gonna say, bro, if that's how you explained it to her, she's gonna be in second grade for a minute.
The way I explained it is, I'm like, it's 57 minus 18. How could you not know this? You just do this, you do that, and she's like, she's 7, and she's staring at me with this blank stare. You ever watch that movie like Inside Out or whatever with the in the girl's head, all the emotions? Yeah, all the little characters.
You're creating core memories for her right now with that bullying math shit. She's never gonna like math.
Awful core memories at the table doing math with dad. Yeah. So, the commercials I thought were meh. I thought the halftime performances, okay. I tuned into both. I watched both. To me, it wasn't like a political. I was interested to see what was happening. I thought the game was kind of a snoozer. Overall, Jared, start to finish, I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like the Super Bowl just was kind of very forgettable this year, and I'm ready to move on and get to the next one.
I feel like at no point did I feel like Seattle was going to lose. You know what I mean? Like I never. Yeah. They came out. They were dominant. I mean, they were just kicking field goals and didn't give a shit. Like there was no. I mean, and then the announcers are trying to keep you excited, but there's nothing for them. They can only talk about one team because the Patriots aren't even moving the damn ball. So so it was kind of tough there too. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It was not a memorable game, but hey, in the end, Seattle won it, and they did what they. It's not about sexy football, Chris. I know a lot of people like to talk about sexy football.
You addicted to sex?
Exactly.
I am addicted to sexy football.
And that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
That was not it. No, I was very turned off last night. Very turned off by what I saw on the television set. I guess we've really run out of things to talk about with this Super Bowl. Complete waste of time.
Talk about. There's a decent basketball program in Ann Arbor.
There is a decent basketball program in Ann Arbor, and that might be a good place to actually transition to that conversation because the Super Bowl might have been a snoozer. And I guess maybe if you're a Buckeye fan, the game against the Michigan Wolverines over the weekend was a bit of a snoozer. But, Michigan once again continues to roll, continues to play dominant basketball. I feel like everybody, when it comes to this basketball team, like, yes, it's fun to watch, and you're trying to stay plugged in to make sure you can keep up with what's happening. But really, this is about tournament time with this team. I mean, they're in first place of the Big Ten Conference. They certainly look like they are the class of the conference for sure. Arguably the top team in all of college basketball. But I feel like that's how it is with this team. Is like you're watching them play, periodically throughout the week, and really, it's just a matter of, are they going to show up mentally prepared? Like from a skill set standpoint, from a talent standpoint, they're head and shoulders above the competition night in and night out. So it's really, for me, Jared, anyway, it's about how far can they go in the tournament. That's where I find myself at with this team right now. Like the regular season wins are great. They're impressive. They obviously blew out Ohio State, which is nice. They're coming off of big wins, over Nebraska and over Michigan State. I think Penn State was tucked in there as well, but they look impressive.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, to me, this is about how far can this team go in the tournament, and what you're seeing so far. And I've said this before, you've got to feel really confident about the way this team is built and structured in terms of their chances to go real deep in the tournament, possibly take it all.
Yeah, I mean, you got 5 guys scoring 10 points or more. The 5th guy is Trey McKinney. So he's your 6th man, but he's scoring double digits. Namari Burnett's right behind it, like 9. I mean, they really, truly run 8, 9 deep, and you probably have, like you and I have talked about, they have 5 or 6 guys who could legitimately be the man for any game. So, that's lethal. Like we've talked about before, if you go into the tournament and you got 2 or 3 guys, I mean, there's a chance they could all have a bad night. Michigan's got 5 or 6. You know what I mean? The chances of them all having a bad night is pretty slim. The loss to Wisconsin wasn't because they had a bad night. It's because Wisconsin caught fire and hit 15 threes that game. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they're built. I mean, yeah, you got Mara out here draining threes now. And I'll tell you, he scored like 26 or 28. I think you had it written down, but 26 points or whatever. To me, the most impressive thing that I saw about him that game was his vision, man. When he gets in that like that mid post range, and he can see over everybody. You know what I mean? So dudes are just cutting left and right, and I mean, solid. There was some great passing. He had some kickouts to Cheddar. I know Cheddar's your guy for 3. I mean, Mara played his ass off, and that was impressive to see. Like every game, it's somebody different. I think I was texting you. I don't know if I texted you or a buddy, but it looked like Yaxel.
Hold on a second. Did you say texted me or a buddy? Am I not in that category?
Your family, bro. Your family,
okay.
Bro.
All right. Fair enough. All right. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Smooth save. Anyways, remember when I was like, yo, Yaxel just looks like I wish he'd be more aggressive. You know what I mean? But he didn't have to. And he's cool with being a team player. He doesn't have to be aggressive. I think you said he still finished with a double-double.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. I mean, so Mara finished with 24 and 6. Yaxel finished with 14 and 14, so a double-double for him, and then a double-double for Mraz Johnson, 11 points and 12 rebounds. And yeah, I mean, if you can get your 7-footer out hitting 3-pointers and you can get it to Jared's point, you're getting it from a different guy, you know, or a different set of guys every night. Trey McKinney had 12 points.
You addicted to sex?
That's not what I meant.
Good God, man, you got to start thinking these things out.
I really do. Yeah,
it just flows right out of you, too.
It just comes right out of me. They are a dangerous team. There's no doubt they are the deepest team. I would argue, certainly in the conference, if not all of college basketball. You know, you look at a guy like Cadeau, who finished with 2 points and 2 rebounds. He did have 6 assists, but he was a hero for you against Michigan State, and now he's playing just more of a supplemental role, sort of dishing and setting guys up. It really is impressive to watch how it comes from different guys at different nights. And I think that overall, like I said before, I think everybody's just watching this team and waiting to see what it looks like in tournament time, because right now there's no question that they're one of the best teams in all of college basketball. But how does it translate into the tournament? We got a few more games before we get there, but the best start in program history, they're 22-1, which, again, is incredibly impressive. This team is rolling. It really kind of raises your eyebrow a little bit about that loss to Wisconsin, because they very easily could be sitting here 23-0.
Did you watch that Wisconsin game though? I mean, was 15 threes. They couldn't miss.
Yeah, they were on fire.
Yeah, you run into a
crazy thing though. That's what it's going to take to beat this team. I mean, you really, if you're not playing your A game, if you're not completely on, if you're not on your A game, like, you're probably going to walk out with an L, and that's just how this is. And I think Michigan can even afford to not play their best basketball, but they can still keep themselves in a game. And then, late in the second half, they can rally to take the lead. And so it's a fun team to watch, but quite honestly, man, I'm interested in it, but I think because they're so good, I don't have as much interest now as I'm going to have in tournament time when it really starts to matter, because I just expect them to go in and put an ass whooping on. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, your biggest fear now is just making sure everybody stays healthy. You rotate your guys so you don't wear anybody out. I mean, because a lot of these games, he's going 9-10 guys deep, because he's got, you got a 30-40 point lead on some of these games. So then that's great too. You're getting experience on the bench. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that they're just they're built for a run.
Yeah, and as far as Mara goes, we were texting about this not too long ago. Solid play. Like, you were talking about his vision on the court and just, the different things that he brings to the table. But remember, we were texting about being a 7-footer? In every other aspect of life, it seems like it would suck, right? Like, when you get on the court, being a 7-footer is like, you're golden, right? Like, you can see over everybody, you can make the passes, you can make the shots, you can do what you need to do. Jared, as soon as you walk off the court, I would imagine life gets really difficult as a 7-footer. Like, if you really think about it, does anything come easy to a 7-footer?
No. I mean, how do you sit in a car? What do you do? Like, there's nothing. You can't just go out and buy a pair of pants. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, homeboy, I saw a player or a Michigan fan saw him at a bus stop. He's just wearing sweatpants and shit. And I'm like, man, he probably has to wear that. Like, you see 7'3", isn't he? He's 7'3", dude. Like, that's insane. Yeah. I mean, it's only good in one situation.
Yeah. Shower, restaurants, driving a car, getting on public transportation, flying in an airplane. Everything seems like it would be. Yeah, you're right. Picking out your clothes. Where the hell do you go as a 7-footer to buy regular clothes? I just don't. Yeah. The doorways are hell. See, they get it.
Banging your head on it. Just smacking your head into everything.
smacking your head into everything. You don't have any room for your legs ever. You got to get like customized clothing. That's got to be a pain in the ass, but thankfully for NIL, that's not a huge problem. But yeah, I mean, Michigan basketball clearly rolling, still headed toward, I think the best finish in program history. Again, just waiting to see what's going to happen in tournament time. We already know that they're legit. We know that they're one of the best teams in the country. So the clock is ticking, and that moment is going to be here before we know it, man. Everything is just flying by right now.
MSU took down Illinois for us.
MSU took down Illinois. That's correct. So again, Michigan is in. I didn't want to pull that up quite yet. Michigan is in first place in the Big Ten Conference. What do you think about that Michigan State thing? Did you happen to watch that game against Illinois? Did you keep your eyes on Jeremy Fears, and did you have any sort of opinion on that? The no call. I guess it was a borderline tripping call on Fears.
I don't know. I was surrounded by Michigan State fans where I was watching it, so I said,
"You were compromised."
Yeah, I said, there it is. And they're like, oh, you're making something out of nothing. Like, dude, he's just doing nonsense still. He just great player, had a great game, had another great game. Like, you know what I mean? But it just seems like, I don't know, man. He's reminding me a little bit of Grayson Allen, the kid from Duke. Remember him?
A little bit.
Dirty, dude. Just dirty. And it just seems like he keeps doing it. Like, I'm sorry, your leg just doesn't go out like that. Like, you're doing this shit on purpose, man. I'm sorry. It's on the video. But
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, to his credit, he's too clever for it to just be an accident, right? Like, it's the way he sticks his foot out just a little bit more than like you would think somebody normally would. Exactly. Like, and again, if these things happen in a vacuum, if it happens just one time and it's an isolated thing, then yeah, you could say, oh, sure, it's an accident. Like, I don't think he meant to do it. But when you see these things popping up game after game, and sure, he's under a microscope. Everybody's watching everything he does, but he knows he's underneath a microscope. And I think where he really screwed himself was after that Michigan game. It became a big topic of conversation. All he needed to do was go play Minnesota and play him clean. And he proceeded to put out the dirtiest highlight tape he probably put out all year long. And so when you put together two back-to-back games like that, certainly the narrative isn't going to go away. I did see there was a Michigan State beat writer who had put out just an amazing piece of spin after the win over Illinois, crediting Tom Izzo for the way he handled the Jeremy Fears thing, but making it into be like it was something to the effect of Tom Izzo didn't fall for Dusty May's bait. Like, he wouldn't let him bait him into something. And I'm just like, look, man, I get it. Everybody's tribalistic. Everybody wants to root for their own team. And even if you're covering your team, like, it's kind of hard to hide your fandom these days. But like, the idea that Dusty May was trying to bait anybody into anything, to me, is just so completely ridiculous. Dusty May went to a Monday press conference, was asked a question from somebody in the media, and he answered the question honestly. And it wasn't like he gave an answer that was completely unexpected. The reason the question was asked was because everybody knew what happened. They just wanted to get Dusty May's take on it. So he gave an honest answer, and that was it. That was the end of it. So trying to turn Dusty May into like some sort of villain or somebody who was baiting Tom Izzo into something, or that Dusty May was trying to like, destroy Jeremy Fears' name. Like, it's all so ridiculous to me. Again, if you're not out kicking people in the nuts, then there's not really anything to talk about on a Monday press conference.
And all he said was it's on the tape. Like, basically, go look at it yourself, make your own decision, right? Like, Dusty didn't say anything really concrete one way or the other. He said it's on the tape. Go look at it. And when you look at it, it looks bad. I mean, it looks bad. What do you want to say? And then, like you said, he follows it up with Minnesota, follows it up with Illinois. Like, now you got 3 games in a row where this dude's doing nonsense, and you got Spartan fans who are like, oh, there's nothing there. Dude, it's on the tape.
It is on the tape, and there's at least a question. And again,
I will say one thing I picked up from that game, beyond all the nonsense, is that Wagler kid from Illinois, that freshman. He's smooth. He's the second coming of Chris Breiler. I can tell you that.
You think so?
Kid is smooth. Yeah, he's real smooth. I think he dropped 47 the other night in a game, but like he did that move a couple times, but he was like up in the air though, so his feet were off the ground and he dunked it. It was pretty cool. But
career high 21 points for this guy. Okay, 21 points for this
things
guy.
we should keep to ourselves. I don't know if that's the flex you think it is, my friend. What grade was
I
it?
feel
Was
like
it like
it's
fifth grade? Was it
when
fifth grade?
somebody came on here and was praising me for a 10-inch vertical. I mean, hey, look, if I can get 10 inches off the ground, that's pretty damn impressive for where I'm at.
What grade were you in when you scored 21? You saying high school? That was high in high school?
Yeah, that was probably, I don't know. That might have been 10th or 11th grade. And then I fell off my senior year. Screwed up my ankle. It was bad situation.
Yeah, you got
enough about me, Jared. Enough about me. Enough about my playing days. Anything else you want to say about the Michigan? My wife wants me.
No. I mean, again, I'm just super impressed with Dusty May's just his stoicism, right? Like he just nothing bothers him, and the team looks the same. They're definitely a reflection, and I almost say like the chaos and chaoticness of Tom Izzo, like MSU is a reflection of that right now. You know what I mean? Just the way they're playing, and then Michigan is just like. It just seems like they just know they're going to win, and they're just out there being smooth. Like I didn't even realize you said Yaxel had 14 and 14. If I watched that game all over again, I would have thought he had probably 6 and 5. It was just in the flow of the game. Everything is in the flow of the game for this team. And like you said, Cadeau, basically a non-factor. But you know what he didn't do? I don't think he turned the ball over. He controlled the game. You know what I mean? He didn't make a lot of mistakes. 6 assists. Didn't have to score. Didn't have to. McKinney came out, hitting a couple more threes again. Cheddar comes out, hits some three. They just repeat the same thing over and over, and nobody can stop it. It's just it's impressive. I'm excited for the Duke game, right? They got Duke coming up. Yep. That'll be a big one. Although Duke just lost to North Carolina, so we'll see. And Duke's young, right? Duke's really young. I mean, that's the thing. Michigan's old, right? They're older. They got experience, and these young kids, us old guys, man. These whippersnappers don't stand a chance.
Listen, we'll box you out. We're good at the fundamentals.
Nomari's like 24 years old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yaxel's like 23. Like, they got.
I think, another cool thing about it is you talk about like the age of the team and how much talent is on this team, but it is so low ego, right? Like there's not a lot of me guys. I mean, there's not really any me guys. You talk about Yaxel as a perfect example. You look at Cadeau's numbers. I mean, he did have 6 assists, but there's no guys that feel like every night they got to get theirs, right? It truly does feel like it's a team. It's a collective effort. And as long as they're getting the W, as long as they're putting up points and they're playing good defense, I don't think they genuinely care where it's coming from as long as they're getting the job done. And I just think it's probably really hard to accomplish that in today's era of college athletics in general, college basketball, where you have NIL as such a big part of it. And you got guys that are bringing in, $2, $3, $4 million on a single year deal. It's probably hard to keep ego in check unless you've got the right culture, the right head coach. Yeah. And I think Dusty May has that. And when you talk about Dusty May being a guy who's like cool, calm, collective, and then you contrast that with what you see with Tom Izzo, I mean, those two teams, those head coaches are like just perfect examples of like yin and yang, complete opposite. And I think that's why it's so fun to watch the two teams play. And then they'll close it out in the regular season. What is it? March 8th, I think, is when they close it out, if I'm not mistaken. And that one will take place at Chrysler Center. So looking forward to that one. Looking forward to see what Michigan does the rest of the way. But again, the Wolverines 22-1. They are off to the best start in program history. They are number 1 in the Big Ten Conference. And it looks like, at least right now, they are one of the top favorites to win it all in the NCAA tournament. Yep. Let's do this. Let's transition to football a little bit, because I did discuss this and it was interesting to hear what people had to say. This might just be a product of fans being fans and doing what they normally do. But I was curious, based on the schedule, what fans thought, the ceiling was for the team, what the floor was for the team, and then what they thought was actually going to happen. And there are a lot of people in this fan base, at least people that interacted with me, that think Michigan, it's a given that this team's headed for 10 wins in 2026. 10 wins to me feels real strong when you look at what the schedule looks like. I'm going to pull it up again. I know we pulled the schedule up before and people
don't let it up there too long. People get mad. Well, CJ's not here tonight, so
we can't do this topic though if we don't have it up here. So I'm curious, Jared, let's do this again. Let's take one more look at the schedule as it's laid out. And then I want to ask you what you think the floor is, what the ceiling is, and what your prediction is. So week 1, Michigan, matter of fact, the first 4 games are going to take place in Ann Arbor. You start the season off with Western Michigan. I believe that was the game that was going to be played overseas. They scrapped that. That one's going to come back to Ann Arbor, played in the big house, as it should be. Week 2, they're going to welcome Oklahoma to the big house. We saw how that played out when the Wolverines went to Norman last year. Not a pretty sight. And then you've got UTEP and Iowa to finish out the 4-game homestand before you go on the road and take on Minnesota October 3rd. Then you head into the bye week. And now coming out of the bye week, you've got Penn State at home, Indiana at home. You go on the road to play Rutgers. Then you come back home for Michigan State. You hit the road for Oregon. You come back home for UCLA. And then you finish the season week 13, November 28th in Columbus against the Buckeyes. So, Jared, when you look at that schedule, let's start here. I mean, you see some big-time matchups. You've got Oklahoma at home. You've got Penn State on there, which I think is a bit of an enigma right now. Nobody's quite sure. What's Indiana going to look like? Is Kurt Cignetti going to be able to keep up with what he's been doing? You know, Michigan State, we've seen strange things happen there. They're welcoming a new coach in Pat Fitzgerald. You know, is he able to change the culture and get more out of the guys? Are they able to play above what the talent is there in East Lansing? You've got a road trip at Oregon. You've got the one against Ohio State. So let me ask you, what do you think the floor is for this team? What do you think? Wheels come off as bad as it gets. What's the floor when you look at the schedule?
I mean, I think the floor to me is you lose Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State. I think that's the floor. I think the rest they're going to be favored. They might even be favored in the Oklahoma game because it's in Ann Arbor.
So hold on. So you got the floor at 8-4?
Yeah, I really do. I don't think they go 7-5 unless, I mean, you have to have a big mistake, and I don't think that with Whittingham is the kind of coach that will let them have a loss to like a Minnesota or an Iowa. Penn State, I get what you're saying, you know, the name Penn State, but man, I think they're just going through so much turmoil. I don't think next year is going to be the year, and they're coming to Ann Arbor. If that was in, you know, Happy Valley, I'd be with you a little bit, but coming to Ann Arbor after all the shit they went through, I think they're just trying to put a team on the field next year and win a few games. You know what I mean? But I think 8-4 is the bottom. Where are you at with it? You 7-5?
I think the floor is 7-5. And again,
what do you got? You got Penn State in there?
Yeah. Well, so it's so here's the guaranteed, or not the guaranteed. In the worst case scenario, here's where the losses come from. I think you lose week 2 to Oklahoma.
Yep.
I think you lose to Indiana at home. I think you lose to Oregon, and I think you lose to Ohio State. So that gives you 4 losses right there.
Yep.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. So you're already at 8-4. I think the 5th loss comes from the trio of Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State. Now, this is, again, a scenario where the wheels come off. I could see Iowa, Penn State, Michigan State. If things go sideways and Michigan isn't performing the way they're expected to perform, and they're already a 4-loss team, I could see a loss coming from Iowa, Penn State, or Michigan State. So to me, the absolute floor for this team is 7-5. I don't think that's going to happen. But again, if things went sideways and the wheels came off, I wouldn't be surprised to see 7-5.
I would be okay with that. I'd be kind of with you if they weren't all home games. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
And those other teams haven't made big moves in the offseason. They didn't sign big classes. They didn't sign big classes last year. Penn State lost a lot of people. They didn't really replenish it in the transfer portal. Iowa's just Iowa, right? Who knows if they're gonna score 10 points a game next year or not? But yeah, I guess I could see it 7-5 if the wheels fall off. Yeah.
Worst case scenario. I don't think it gets worse than that. You're not losing to Western Michigan.
7-5 is bad, though, boy.
It's bad, but you're not losing to UTEP. At Minnesota, could that be a tricky one on the road October 3rd? I guess we'll see what time that game is. Sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. At Rutgers, I don't see that being a problem at all. UCLA, I don't see being a problem at all. But, there's some games in here where with a loaded schedule, if you get caught looking ahead or you're not on your A game, where you could find yourself in a dogfight. I mean, how many times do we see that year after year? Penn State playing above where they should play. Iowa all of a sudden has somebody on the ropes. You don't really see it too much from Michigan State because they're dog shit year in and year out. But this could be the year that things change.
Unbiased opinion.
With a regime change, you're never quite sure what you're going to get.
But they just lost too much talent, man. That's what I'm saying. Cool that Penn State made the change. Cool that Michigan State made the change. But the talent loss is just too much to overcome in 1 year. They weren't able to go out and do like Cignetti. I know somebody said in here that Penn State brought a bunch of Iowa State guys over, but not to the level of what they were. I mean, they were supposed to win a championship last year. Like, they were the retooled Michigan team, right? Brought everybody back, paid all the current guys NIL money, didn't even really go into the portal that much. Brought everybody back. And so all that's gone, and they didn't really replace it. And then they lost a bunch of guys on the recruiting trail because of James Franklin, and someone followed him to Virginia Tech. And I get you got some guys from Iowa State, but that's not going to be that's not going to be enough. So I'm really not worried about Penn State, but so I
Yeah.
think what's your say tell me it ain't 12-0. What's your
Well, no, that's where I'm at. Okay, so for me, the floor is 7-5. For you, it's 8-4. Let's flip it and let's go up to the ceiling now. Michigan has an amazing season. Everything's clicking. Bryce Underwood takes a step forward that we think he can. This offense looks good. You get a balanced attack between the aerial assault and the running attack. Defensively, Michigan is still solid. Everything looks the way it's supposed to look. Again, it's a loaded schedule. So, Jared, what's the ceiling for this team if everything's clicking?
For me, it's 11-1. I think they're going to lose one of the away games, Oregon or Ohio State. That's what I think, and I think Oregon's more likely of a win. I think that I don't know. Ohio State's just in Ohio State's tough, but I think 11-1. I mean 12-0 would be obviously incredible, but I think like you said, everything's clicking. The receivers are running routes. Bryce takes a huge leap up. I see he's already working with a quarterback's coach in the offseason, but I think 11-1. Where are you at? Yeah,
I'm at 10-2 for the ceiling, so I'm not too far off. But I
was struggling with 10-2 and 11-1, brother.
It's
those 4 games we talked about, splitting that. I think that's a good year, splitting those 4 games.
Right, and it's hard for me to see Michigan going 3-1 in those games, and 3-1 talking about Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, and at Ohio State. If Michigan goes,
everything's clicking. If everything's clicking,
even if everything is clicking, I mean, that's the thing is, like, in terms of winning
a big road game,
you got to win a big road game, and that's the thing that we need to see from Michigan, I think, in 2026, and they're going to have opportunities to do it. Obviously, when you go out to Oregon on November 13th, and then you close the season in Columbus against the Buckeyes, but this team can go out and play a good game on the road against Oregon, look like they belong, compete, and still lose the game, right? Because I think Oregon is going to be solid next year too. For me, the idea of Michigan going 3-1 in those 4 games seems unrealistic. Even if everything is clicking, when you look at the schedule as a whole, this is just a loaded football schedule. And I think for a team that's breaking in a new coaching staff, even though this is a very experienced coaching staff, I just don't see a realistic scenario where they go beyond 10-2. Now, would I love to see it? Absolutely. But I think if everything's clicking and Michigan goes 10-2 with this schedule, that's going to be an incredibly impressive first year for Kyle Whittingham and his staff. So that's where I'm at on the ceiling. I think the floor is 7-5. I think the ceiling is 10-2. Jared, you're at 8-4 and 11-1. So you're a little more, I guess, optimistic than I am. You call me the Kool-Aid guy. You tell me that I'm wearing rose-colored glasses.
Look at that left side of that schedule, man. Like, other than Oklahoma, which is still at home, who you played last year, they're bringing Mateer back, so you've already experienced that. You already know what to do differently with him. I mean, I don't see a loss there, and that's great for them to gel as a team with the new coaching staff, with all the changes they made, to have no real challenge other than Oklahoma in that left side there. You know what I mean? I think that you're gonna. Man,
at Minnesota could be tricky. Iowa, you never know what you're going to get from Iowa. Iowa could be a dead body. Iowa could be a dead body. Iowa could give you a full 4 quarters.
It's at home.
I get it's at home. I understand, but
I love it. Like, look at all that at home. Like, they get to gel in Ann Arbor together, except for Minnesota. And PJ Fleck can't beat Michigan. He wants to coach at Michigan. He can't beat Michigan.
I mean, it does set up pretty favorably. You've got one road game in the first 8 games. You're only traveling once, and so
it's to Minnesota when it's not even cold yet. It's early October, so you're not going to be out there dealing with the land of 10,000 lakes snowstorms. You're not dealing with that stuff. So,
how do you feel about Minnesota? I mean, do you like having a schedule on you talk about the front half of the season, the first 8 weeks, you only leave Ann Arbor once. Do you like having a lot of home games there to start out the season, or would you rather see them hit the road?
Sure. In this situation, for sure, because just like you said, they bring new coaching staff, new way of playing football. I mean, I get it. They're practicing right now or doing their winter practice or training, and you got spring ball, but still, that's a lot to implement. You new guys, and you got some young guys that you probably want to get in there, right? Hyder and it sounds like Coach Witt's a big fan of Carter Meadows, who's coming in June, so he has some high hopes for him. To talk about a guy who's not even there yet, when you have guys that are there, and you're saying, this guy's special, and I can't wait to get him in June. That tells you like what he thinks of Carter Meadows. So I like it, especially as a fan, right? As a fan, it's perfect for me. But
well, see,
that gauntlet on the back end, I think that's not a bad thing.
So Joe from the Facebook page, he says, shouldn't the ceiling be 12-0? I mean, half a year for Underwood to gel. Look, I guess if you're technically speaking, sure, the ceiling would be 12-0 and the floor would be 0-12. But realistically, Michigan's not going to go 0-12. And I don't think realistically we're going to see a 12-0 season here. So I think when we say floor and season, we're framing that within what we think is realistic based on the information that we have with the schedule and what we think we're going to get out of the roster. And so for me, I think if everything's clicking with the Michigan offense, even if they have half a year to gel and Underwood takes the step forward we expect, I'm still at 10-2. Jared's at 11-1. It's just so hard to say that this team can go undefeated when you're looking at Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, at Ohio State. The idea of Michigan going 4-0 in that stretch and then not stumbling at all in the remainder of the schedule. I mean, could it happen? Sure. Would it be incredibly impressive? There's no doubt about it. But that just seems a little bit outside the realm of what I would consider realistic. Now, you get through the first 5 weeks of the season, right? You have a dominant performance against Oklahoma. You come out of the bye week and you follow it up with another dominant performance against Penn State. Now we might have something to talk about in the second half of the schedule, but they're going to have to show me something first before I go to allowing myself to think that 12-0 is
I think Joe
within a possibility.
Yeah, and I think Joe nailed what needs to happen within that question, right? If Bryce Underwood comes out and plays like what we expect him to play like after, I think he's working with Jordan Palmer right now, Carson Palmer's brother, in the offseason. Looks like they're out in California.
He was out there for a little bit. I think he's back in Michigan. But yeah.
Okay, he's back. So he's already doing that. They got a specific guy to coach him right now at Michigan. Like, if he makes that jump to become a Heisman type caliber quarterback, I mean, that could change a lot of things. You know what I mean? You got a kid out there that becomes what we thought everybody thought he was going to become. I mean, that could change some things because at the college level of football, there still is that ability for one guy to make a difference to a game. You know what I mean? Like in the NFL, it's a little bit more difficult because the talent is just so high. But remember like the Vince Youngs, the Reggie Bushes. College is a place where a guy who's just superior athletically can just dominate a game still. And Bryce Underwood certainly has all those tools. You think that kid, he puts on another 10 pounds, Chris? He's running around out there 6'5", 235. That's Vince Young part two, right? And he could take over a game. So I think,
keep him healthy. For God's
sake. Exactly.
You need him the back half of the schedule. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
but
sure.
We saw that last year, right? Where Sharon Moore kind of had that same mentality where, afraid to run him, didn't really want to utilize his full skill set. And then that became a big, debate throughout the season is why are they holding this kid back? And so I think that conversation needs to completely go away next year. Like when you watch Bryce Underwood play, the last thing you want to be asking yourself or thinking is that they're holding him back. I think now is the time where you get to see his full skill set and then let the chips fall where they may. Obviously, you want to keep the guy healthy. You don't want to be reckless, but you can't if his mobility is one of his talents and one of the things that makes him a dangerous quarterback, you got to use it. You can't hold that back for the sake of protecting yourself. Matthew Conley from the Facebook page says, I think Fitz will have MSU ready to compete. They brought in some respectable talent. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that there will be a new energy with Michigan State. There's no doubt about it. And, that can sometimes help early in the game. But I think when talent is far superior on the other side, the hype and all the energy starts to wear off when reality sets in and you're getting popped in the mouth. Now,
and at home.
Yeah, and you're doing it in Ann Arbor. Now, could there be some sort of crazy thing where Michigan's playing out of character and they're not focused, they're not locked in, Bryce Underwood's making some mistakes, you're turning the ball over, and then you find yourself in a 4-quarter game? Absolutely. We see it all the time in college football. But look, man, one of the things that and I've said this a number of times with this team, the thing that I think we are going to see the most, probably the biggest improvement in Kyle Whittingham's team versus what we saw with Sharon Moore's teams is the discipline, the way that they go out and execute, the way they play as a team, the way that they play mistake-free football, the way that they are locked in for 4 quarters. I just don't see him as a guy who's going to let this team play out of character. And for me, that's one of the biggest benefits to bringing in somebody who's got over 20 years of head coaching experience at a high level. So yeah, Michigan State might have a little more buzz than normal. Certainly there wasn't a lot of buzz with Jonathan Smith, I can tell you that. I think Fitz will have them amped up, but I think it'll probably wear off pretty quick. But we'll see what Michigan State has as the the schedule gets underway. So Jared, we have done floor I'm at 7-5. You're at 8-4. Ceiling, I'm at 10-2. You're at 11-1. Give me how you think it's actually going to play out. Now, again, we're coming at this from a standpoint of we haven't seen this team play a down of football yet, but we can make some projections based on who they have coming back and how we think this is going to play out. What is your prediction for the 2026 season based on the schedule?
10-2. Yep, I think they go 50-50 in those games. Unfortunately, I still think that they lose both those road games, which 10-2 with wins over Oklahoma and Indiana, depending on how Indiana does next year, right? We don't know. Like you said, they're retooling completely. Indiana could be an 8-4 team next year, which doesn't help Michigan with that win at home, right? An 8-4 win over Indiana doesn't help you, but we're assuming Oklahoma is probably going to be a playoff contending type team, so that would be a big win. I just don't see them going in and beating Oregon or Ohio State at on the road. I don't. So, I think they'll go 10-2, and I think that it'll be a discussion whether they make the college football playoff because they'll have 2 losses out of their last 3, and I think that's going to be the struggle.
I think I think you still got to put Michigan in with this schedule.
It depends on the losses too, right? Like if they're not, and I know there's no good loss. There is a good loss. You go to Oregon and you lose 41-7 versus 34-31. You go to Ohio State, you lose 27-24 versus 50-20. There are good and bad losses, and when you get humans in that room to make those decisions, they're going to look at those good and bad losses. So they got to go 10-2 and have good games at Oregon and Ohio State. I think. That's
what I was going to say would work in Michigan's favor because you're going to have humans go into a room and you're going to have them try to make decisions. And, for better or worse, like it or not, like it's one of the benefits to, being the University of Michigan is that you do have a big draw. Like you're going to sell a lot of tickets. You're going to get a lot of eyes on the TV. And with the way college football is these days, I'm quite certain that plays a role. And so if you've got Michigan sitting there at 10-2, I just don't see any scenario when you look at this schedule that they don't make the college football playoff. Even if some of these losses on the road, if you think it comes at Oregon and at Ohio State, things get a little sideways and it ends up looking pretty ugly in the end. Even then at 10-2, I just don't think you keep Michigan out of the playoff. But
so many other variables too.
A ton of other variables, right? You got to see who else is doing what in the Big Ten and how many teams are, sitting at the top. Is Michigan in 3rd place in the Big Ten? Are they 4th place in the Big Ten? Yeah. That's going to be obviously a huge part of it. But you've got them at 10-2. That's your prediction. Jared, for me, I got Michigan at 9-3. I just think that's the most realistic for where I'm sitting right now. 9-3 feels like the most realistic scenario here. I do think you probably, if I look at the way the schedule is set up, they're going to have to show me something in the first part of the season before I will predict them to go on the road and beat Oregon, predict them to go down in Columbus and beat Ohio State, even though we saw what happened in 2024 where they went down there with 0 offense and got it done. I just don't ever see anything like that happening again. No. Michigan's going to have to show me something. I think that week 2 game at home against Oklahoma is going to be the fork in the road. I think if they drop that week 2 game, then to me, 9-3 just became very realistic when you still got at Oregon, at Ohio State, Indiana on the schedule. You've got a road trip to Minnesota. You got to play Iowa. You got to play Penn State. There's 2 more losses tucked in there somewhere. So that week 2 game, a lot like 2024 was pivotal with Texas week 2, right? Like we were looking at that game. Michigan's coming off of national championship. Jim Harbaugh is gone. Sharon Moore is in. We were going to find out what we needed to know about Michigan week 2, and then Texas came into the big house and beat the shit out of Michigan, planted the flag on the block M at the 50-yard line, and the season ended up going the way it did, right? Michigan stumbled to 7-5, got that win over Alabama in the bowl game to save it to move to 8-5, but that was a difficult year. And so much like 2024, I think that this week 2 matchup against Oklahoma is going to really determine how this ends up looking. So I've got it at 9-3. Jared, you've got them at 10-2. I guess, the difference between 9-3 and 10-2, Jared, is that the difference between a successful season and a failure of a season in your eyes?
No, I think either one is going to be kind of what you expected. Like you want them sniffing at the door of a playoff. If they get in the playoff, that's awesome to me. Again, I'm still on that 3rd year with Bryce. That's the one that's got to be. Like when they go into that 3rd year with Bryce and all those guys, like they got to be the odds-on favorite for the national championship. They got to be in a position to go, 11-1, 12-0. And I also want to point out something that you have the silver tongue of a politician, because I heard what you said there too. You said I'm at 9-3 unless they can show me something so that I can predict them to beat Oregon or Ohio State. So
Well, yeah. I mean,
You
we're
bought yourself a freebie later on to be like, well,
hold on a
change to 10-2 now.
Hold on a second. We're sitting here in
Just sit it in
February.
there.
We're sitting here in February. Okay. We haven't seen them play a football game yet. So as of now, without seeing this team play at all, yeah, I reserve the right to adjust that. I mean, let Michigan get to the bye week. Let them get through the first 5 weeks of the season before I can really make a determination on how I think this is going to all play out. I mean, if they beat the shit out of Oklahoma in Ann Arbor and they go on a run and they enter the bye at 5-0, then yeah, I have the right to reserve. If Bryce Underwood is slinging it all over the field and Andrew Marsh is looking like an All-American again and JJ Buchanan is snagging the ball and you've got
change your prediction. Your prediction is your
prediction.
Sure, I can. Tattoo it on your arm. It's in the Geneva Convention. You are not allowed to change predictions after games are played. We had a war over this, I think.
Good Lord. Look at this. Can you imagine being this type of person? Imagine being this type of person. Like, what is your life like to be this type of person?
Pretty awesome.
It's a Monday evening. It's a Monday evening. I don't know where you're from. You're on Facebook. You're logging on to talk about Michigan cheating on a podcast. You don't care.
That guy? Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird behavior. Look at this.
They got caught.
They got caught doing that on a Monday evening. Go spend time with your family. For God's sake. Get out of here.
Do it for the kids.
Where was I going to go after that? All right, so we'll see. But yeah, I absolutely have the right to change my mind. I need to see that Michigan can play the way we expect them to play. I don't want to see inconsistency on offense. I don't want to see a team that's struggling to be balanced. And what we heard from Jason Beck, quite honestly, now I get it. Like, he's saying all the things that you would hope to hear from an offensive coordinator. But when you listen to Jason Beck during his appearance on the In the Trenches podcast with John Jansen, everything he said sounded phenomenal to me. Like, yeah, we want to run the ball. Everything starts there. You got to win in the trenches. But, make no mistake. We want to be balanced. We want to be dynamic through the air. We want to push the ball down the field. That's exactly what you need to see from this Michigan offense. And so that's where I still have a bit of skepticism when I'm looking at Oregon, at Ohio State, because you are going to have to be balanced. Unlike last year when you saw Bryce Underwood have 5 pass attempts in the first half against the Buckeyes in Ann Arbor, that shit can't happen. That is not a winning formula. Even if you're a run-first team, even if you want to dominate in the trenches, you got to let your 5-star quarterback loose. You got to let him do what he does best. I trust that Jason Beck will do that. I trust that Kyle Whittingham will do that. But I got to see a little bit of it first before I go ahead and say, okay, yeah, this team can go on the road and beat Oregon. This team can go on the road and beat Ohio State. I'm just basing it off of what I've seen so far over the last couple of years, especially last year. This looks like a 9-3 schedule for me.
All right. Well, I'm just saying you're reserving the right to change your mind, which whatever. That's
right.
A cop out, Chris.
I've ruled in favor of myself. All right, let's do this. Let's go to the last thing here before we get off, as we are at an hour and 2 minutes here.
Thank you, Jason Arell. Agreed. Put that up there. Yeah, a doctor.
You know this guy though. He's a friend. Correct. He's a family member.
Correct. Yes, he's a first sergeant in the United States Army, an honorable young man. So everything he says is the truth.
Then his testimony is invalid and is thrown out of the court.
You're the worst judge ever. You can't. Remove the schedule. I was waiting for Tony. Tony hates the schedule. Leave it up.
Let's tell you.
Tony always hits the schedule.
Schedule gone. Jared's at 10-2. I'm at 9-3.
Tony's done with the schedule.
We're not too far off. Look, you might see them go out and beat the shit out of Oklahoma, and you might start thinking 12-0, and I'll let you alter that.
Never.
We'll see. Here's the last thing I want to do, Jared. I was thinking about this today, and this is kind of in line with what we were just talking about with the football program in terms of things that we want to see next year. But I am curious, like, if you could pick 3 things that you need to see from this team next year in order to deem the season a success. It could be playoffs. It could be beat Ohio State. It could be something statistically. It could be a style of play. If there were a few things that you would say, like, if I see that at a minimum, I'll consider the season a success, what would those things be?
So my number one thing is just a marked improvement for Bryce Underwood's development, right? Like, that's number one to me. Like, I gotta see where, because there's so many ramifications. There's what happens next year. There's what happens in year 3. There's what happens in quarterback recruiting. every quarterback 5-star is looking over at Michigan because Michigan's recruiting them, and they're saying, well, let's see what you do with Bryce. Every parent of a 5-star is saying, you got a generational talent. Let's see what you do with him. And so that's gonna impact the path of the program moving down the line for recruiting. So to me, that's number one. Bryce has to have improvement.
Well, just so that we're clear, that was my number one as well. I've got noticeable growth in production from Bryce Underwood. So to me, that's top priority. I'm in lockstep with you that when he goes out and plays football, we have to see a noticeable jump from year 1 to year 2. And I think that was the biggest thing, Jared. You and I spent a lot of time talking about this, that from week 1 to that Texas game and the bowl game, it looked like Bryce Underwood was still a true freshman trying to figure it out. And then I know we figured out, he didn't have a quarterback's coach, and there wasn't, the type of development, or a head coach for, a good chunk of it. But so the lack of growth, it started to make sense. I think that heading into year 2, and this is when you typically see a young quarterback, especially a true freshman who started for an entire season, this is typically when you see them take a big step forward. I know that Jason Beck, the offensive coordinator, said he expects Underwood to take a big step forward. So to me, that is one thing that's non-negotiable in order for me to deem this season a success. Is I've got to see Bryce Underwood come out and look the part, look what we all thought he was going to become, right? This 100%. Live up to the 5-star billing, live up to the number 1 rating. Like, I want to see some of that out of him. I want to sit back and be wowed game by game.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. And I think so that my next part ties into that, right? And it's the trenches. I think Michigan needs to get back to controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And I think that's going to help Bryce. I think that offensive line is going to take a big step forward. I really believe Babalola is as talented as they said he was. Now that injury, it sucks. He's young. Medicine nowadays, I'm a doctor. I know these things. Amazing, right? I watch a lot of medical shows, so I know all this stuff. It's just amazing what they can do.
A lot of Grey's Anatomy.
A lot of Grey's Anatomy. We can talk about that later.
You addicted to sex?
I don't know if that ties in.
Bar with the bar.
Oh, I love that. that ties into everything.
Ties into everything.
Bar with the bar, the bang, the dang. Said the boogies.
Oh boy. Anyways.
I saw somebody tweet something out that said, "You're angry that the Super Bowl halftime show is not in English, but you're praising a guy that says."
Bar with the bar, the bang, the dang, they said the boogie sit up.
That's not English. I don't know what that is.
That's not. I don't know what. Anyways, no, so before you threw me off, but yeah, I think so, to me it's both sides of the ball in the trenches. Let's get back to Michigan football, control that line. What's your second one?
It's almost like you stole my notes here because I said no fall off defensively, especially on the defensive front. And we saw that Michigan lost some guys. You're losing Rayshon Benny. Obviously, you're losing Derek Moore on the edge. You're losing Jayshon Barham. Hell, you lost all of your linebackers. Cole Sullivan's gone. Jimmy Rolder's gone. Ernest Hausman is gone. And, even with the struggles under Sharon Moore, we saw that Michigan was able to maintain still being one of the top defensive units in the country. That's something to me that's also non-negotiable. I want to see, a change offensively. I want to see a return to balance. I want to see them lean on and utilize Bryce Underwood and his skill set. To me, that's number 1. But number 2, most importantly, I got to see what Michigan has defensively, and I need to see a defensive front that hasn't fallen off or taken a step back. And when you look at what they did in the transfer portal, there's some question marks, right? You didn't really get a big fish at linebacker. You brought in one edge rusher who's coming off of an injury from Utah right now. So there's a bit of elite, but also coming off of a pretty significant injury, and we're not really sure what he's going to be. And so there's a question mark there. I just think when you look at how this roster was built and how it was constructed, the question mark for me is on the defensive line and on that second unit with the linebackers and that edge rusher. I just need to see a defense that doesn't take a step back. If Michigan can stay as consistent defensively as they have been going all the way back to that 2021 season when Mike McDonald came back in, and if we're being honest, they've been pretty good defensively for a while before that. I get 2016 and the whole Dr. Blitz thing left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, but defensively they've been solid for a long time, and I just need to see that continue under Kyle Whittingham, and I'm sure it will.
Yep, I agree with that. That's solid. All right, so you tell me what your third one is, so I don't steal it from you this time.
Well, third for me, Jared, is simple. It's college football playoff. If that doesn't happen, at the end of it, I mean, you can talk about the growth of Bryce Underwood. You can talk about needing to see something from the defense. You can go by this line item by line item. If this team doesn't make the college football playoff in 2026, I will not view the season as a success. There's no other circumstance that I could look at and say, oh, well, at least that happened and I feel good about that. No, it's time for Michigan to get back in the college football playoff. And now if Kyle Whittingham was coming in as a first-year head coach, a young guy trying to figure things out, maybe there's a little bit more of a honeymoon period there, kind of like you gave with Sharon Moore, where you're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and let him figure shit out. That's not why you bring in a guy like Kyle Whittingham. This guy's been coaching for 30 years. He was at the same place for 30 years, head coach there for over 20 years. You bring in a guy like that to win now. I mean, he's 66. He'll be 67. There's not a 10-year plan here with Kyle Whittingham. This is win now, get shit done now. I need to see Michigan in the college football playoff.
You froze up on me. I think Facebook kicked us out. Oh, there you go. I was wondering if we're getting kicked off. Yeah. So you think 9-3, but then you also think a college football playoff.
Well, my expectation is the playoff. I think Michigan will finish at 9-3.
So you set an expectation that you
I don't think they will meet my expectation.
Ooh, that's kind of savage.
Listen, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. If I'm too positive, if I think they're going to do too well, I get shit for that. If I think that, maybe they're going to come up a little bit short of where I think they should, I get shit for that. I cannot win.
With the ball, the bang, the dang.
Get that evil out.
I didn't have therapy this week, so this is.
I'm a fan of the special teams too. I think that for me, for my third one, I don't have any team goals, to be honest with you. I want to see development because you got a whole new coaching staff coming. For me, it's all about development and changing the culture of that program. I think I just want to see special teams that have players that can make an impact. And I think for years, even on the championship team with Jake Thaw back there, and you and I have texted for years about this, how much it drives me insane that you get these elite talented guys. I mean, they did it with Jabril Peppers. It works. And then for some reason, they were just like, you know what? We don't care about special teams anymore. We're just going to get a guy back there that can maybe catch it. Hell, maybe he can't even catch the ball, but we're just going to throw him back there. And it's never an impact. And you see big games, that impact can change a game. And I think with Michigan, where they're going to be next year, I think Bryce will make a big improvement. I think that the offense will make an improvement. But you need to have that special teams be able to put them in good positions, maybe snag a touchdown here or there. I think that can make a big difference. So I hope that they put some impact guys back there on kick return, punt return, and they can swing the field a little bit.
Yeah, it felt like that kind of changed. That kind of changed right around the time I think that Ronnie Bell got hurt early in the season. Was that week 1 that ended up happening? He had that season. Yeah. It was week 1 or week 2. I think right. It was Western
on a great return too, like a 49-yard return. But yeah, right. He blew his knee out, and Harbaugh was like done with that. And now we're just going to put guys back there who can just catch the ball. We're not even really going to try to make anything happen. Sometimes we're not going to really try to make anything happen. We're just going to play it safe. And that's kind of how Michigan's special teams, at least return game, has been for a long time. But I mean, special teams, completely the kicking game, the punting game, field goals, like all of that needs to be significantly improved. And to his credit, Kerry Coombs has done an incredible job on the recruiting trail. We've talked about this before. They brought in like 4 long snappers. They got a couple of new kickers, couple of new punt. I mean, they are loaded up on special teams. And, again, for anybody out there who's like, wow, really? Another long snapper, another kicker? It's like, yeah, I mean, you take it for granted when it's all working and you've got like a Jake Moody out there who's nailing them, right? Money Moody. But when things start to go south, like it did last year with Dominic Zavada, and you start missing some gimmies, and all of a sudden, you get into these games where 3 to 6 points would be a huge difference maker in terms of putting you in a position to like tie things up maybe in a tight game. When you have it, you take it for granted. When you don't have it, you realize it's a huge deal. And so I think Michigan's done a lot of work there. Yeah, man, I think that's it. Special teams for sure. The last one, I kind of cheated a little bit. I threw in an extra credit one here. It was in-game adjustments. I want to see this team. I know that it seemed like Sharon Moore had a philosophy. And damn it, come hell or high water, he was going to stick to the philosophy, even in the game, even if it wasn't dictating, hey, maybe we got to switch things up. Maybe we got to try to approach this a little bit differently. It felt like Michigan was just, nope, we're smash mouth football. This is how we're going to do things. And we're going to win or lose based on the way that we want to play football.
I hate that shit. I
Agreed.
want to see a coaching staff and a football team that can make meaningful in-game adjustments so that when you come out of the half, if things aren't going the way you want it to go, I hope it doesn't take a half, but when you come out of halftime, you switch things up and you're playing now a style of football that's going to allow you to get back in the game or even win the football game. It just seems like we weren't really getting that under Sharon Moore. And I think that, now we have a little more insight into why maybe some of that stuff was. It just, especially after that Ohio State game, right? There was reporting off the field. Players were walking off the field and said, we didn't do anything that we practiced all week. Like the game just shrunk down and it became, we're just going to hammer it away. We're going to run it away. We're not going to let Bryce Underwood do much. And they ended up getting blown out at home because of it. So yeah, man, I think that those are all good things to see. I think obviously we all want to see Bryce Underwood take a big step forward. Defensively, we want to see the Wolverines remain dominant. Jared's special teams, that's going to be an important factor, making meaningful in-game adjustments. And then hopefully at the end of it all, it comes down to my last one, which is make the college football playoff. Because if you're not making the college football playoff at this point, it's hard to get excited about anything that happens during a season if your team's not in postseason play. That's where we're at with college football now. And I guess during the 4-team era, maybe you could make an excuse for it or find a way to be happy. Not in the 12-team playoff format. If you're Michigan and it's 12 teams, you got to be in the college football playoff.
No, I get that. And it's a good trajectory. Even if they sneak into the college football playoff, right? It's a good trajectory for next year going into that third year with Bryce, kind of like JJ did sophomore year going to junior year.
Yeah, you really, you're putting all your chips in on that third year. You think that's
you, brother. You just look at them on paper, man, and you think my other part is with the portal. Other players are gonna see this team, right? And be like, I'll just hop over here for a year. And they're fucking loaded. Like I'm gonna
Listen, that's the problem though with projecting, I think, in today's era of college football. You're talking about the players that they're gonna get in via the portal. I'm worried, like, who are they gonna lose to the portal? Who are some of the guys that are gonna leave? You hope you're able to hang on to everybody, but that's just not
core guys. You got to keep your core guys, and some dudes are going to leave. Right? Some dudes are going to leave. We had guys leave the year we won the national championship. Like, I think you and I talked about, like, what are you thinking? Like, this team's loaded, and you're bouncing right now. Like, where are you going? So, and now I think Michigan has learned already, right? Like, going into that next step again, get ahead, but going into Bryce's third year, they're going to put money on the people that need to stay there, right? They're going to. We'll pay these guys and they'll play this year. Like, it works. Indiana did it. Michigan kept their guys when they ran that national championship. So
yeah, player retention of your core guys is absolutely key. And then you hope you can pick up some key pieces, out of the portal. But yeah, man, I think that's the hardest thing for me about projecting and looking forward. Like, really excited about like Carter Meadows, right? Like his future as a Michigan Wolverine and how he's going to develop. But now in this era, I'm like, I don't know. Is he even going to be here next year? I don't know. I just hope we get the most out of him. And
usually those top 10 5-star guys, they get paid enough to stay for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like Savion Hyder stayed, right? I mean, his running back coach stayed. Carter stayed. Like, they got paid. They're okay.
Justice Haynes did not stay.
Yeah, well, let him go. I think they thought they were good with that 3-man room right there. Cusdahl and Marshall and Hyder. I would like to have him come back too, but I tell you, I hate to say this about him because he's a young kid, but I just have a sneaky suspicion that he might just be injury prone. You know what I mean? Like, he just might be injury prone because he just got banged up with us quick, and Alabama just mysteriously didn't play him as much. But when they played in that bowl game against us, he was like almost unstoppable. So maybe they knew something we didn't. He just seems to get banged up, and I don't get it.
Could
you
be
think all the stuff that Marshall goes through and doesn't, you know what I mean? Misses nothing.
Well, he got banged up too.
He got banged up a little bit, but like, man, I don't know. Haynes, some of the hits he took that put him out. Just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to curse the young man. I hope he goes there and has a great game. I have a picture of him on the wall right here that he signed for me. He's a great kid, but
yeah. Go get the bag. Go play back in your home state. You got Michigan's still loaded in the running back room, and I think overall that's where we end it here. Is like, when you look at that schedule for next year and you look at the roster that's here, and I've said this a number of times. I think one of the things that's most exciting about next year is it feels like it's okay to have expectations again. All last year it was, well, we're not really sure about Sharon Moore, and Bryce Underwood is just a freshman, and look at how young the offensive line is, and talking about like the age of the roster and all of this crap. I just think at this point, the guys have matured. They've got valuable reps under their belt. You've got an experienced coaching staff in the building now. it's okay to expect this team to be in the college football playoff, and that's where I'm at. And the schedule in front of them is loaded for plenty of opportunities for Michigan to prove that they belong on the big stage. So, Jared, look, I don't know how we did it. I sent you a text. I think I gave you a phone call about 10 minutes before we hopped on. I said, holy shit, I forgot we're doing a show. I'm down here doing math. I've got nothing planned. And then somehow we turned it into an hour and 18 minutes. It was kind of a shit show. Not our best work for sure. But look, this is how the off season is going to go, man. We're going to have to talk about pop culture things. We're going to have to talk about what's going on in the news. We're going to talk about what's going on locally here in the beautiful city of Ann Arbor, weather reports, whatever we got to do, Jared, to get ourselves through until Michigan starts spring ball, which honestly is going to pick up in about a month and a half, I think is when they kick off spring ball. So we'll have some stuff to talk about football here in the very near future. Until then, we'll keep watching the men's Michigan basketball team dominate on the hardwood, and that should be a fun ride when we get into
women's team too. They had an upset loss.
The hockey team is doing their thing. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on with Michigan athletics right now, but I'm not going to speak too much outside. I can't come on here and talk about hockey. I don't know shit about it. I can sit back and say like, that was an impressive shot in the goal, and the guy made a great. I don't know. I'm not a hockey guy. Jared, if you can carry a hockey show, I got you, dog. I'm happy to do it.
All right.
We might. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it offline. I appreciate anybody who stayed in here for an hour and 20 minutes of this shit. My goodness.
Bow with the blah, the bang, the dang, dig, said the boogie shit.
Everybody, appreciate you all. Jared and I might be back on Thursday. We'll try to hit it at 6 p.m. for a
CJ's mad.
Sorry, CJ. I mean, I would advise you to go back in and watch from the beginning, but this might be one that you can skip. I don't even know if I have an outro here, so it might just be a clean break. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. We will see you Thursday at 6 p.m. Hopefully